Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Harnett County Schools BTN. This is our second episode. I'm here with
Courtney Hatley,
Alisha Washington.
And today's topic, we're going to talk about physical learning environment. I'm going to hide this real quick. Now, learning environment is very important. And of course, the emotional learning environment is super important. We're not going to touch on that today. Today, we're going to talk more about the physical layout of the desk and the way that the room is decorated and so forth, that kind of thing. And the first thing we thought we would talk about is some different types of arrangements for desks. Now, this is the most traditional. What do you guys think about this?
I like the rows and columns. It's not as conducive to learning for the younger children. I feel like it's better for them to be grouped together so that they have more opportunities to collaborate with one another.
Yeah.
The desks are facing the teacher.
Yeah. This is traditional. This is what you see a lot in the middle schools, I think, and probably the high schools too. This is easier to supervise, right? Does everybody agree with that?
Definitely in a larger room. If the room was smaller, I think it would be hard to squeeze in between the desks to get around to everybody. But if you have a nice large classroom, it would be great.
Okay. So rows and columns is just the traditional rows. Then we have the horseshoe or the U shape. Do you guys like this one?
This is my favorite seating arrangement, my go-to, especially when I had kids. It says on there that one of the cons is that it may be a little bit more difficult to control their behavior, but I always use this for students when they became too talkative because it still allows them the opportunity to collaborate with a partner beside of them. It also opens up that space in the middle for more teamwork, collaborative groups. They can get down on the floor and have an area to work.
No one seeing the back of someone's head. Everybody have a discussion like across the room from each other.
It's easy for the teacher to walk around on the inside or the outside to see what's on computer screens.
Yes, absolutely.
And that kind of thing. And I like the space in the center of the horseshoe. Is great for like skits and presentations and things like that. And you can even put some desks in the center, like we'll see in a minute, a variation of the horseshoe. But this may be harder to control behavior than the rows. Agreed?
Agreed.
Yeah. So this, if you're struggling with classroom management, I might not go for the horseshoe. Then we have the clusters. We're starting to see these more and more in middle school. This is common in elementary, isn't it?
Yes,
it's
common in elementary.
Yeah.
Because we work in groups a lot in elementary.
And so do y'all like the clusters?
I do, because it does provide for the collaborative learning, the teamwork. It encourages the students to talk to one another. However, if you have a stronger personality within the group, they may dominate the conversation, which isn't best for everybody within the group. So you'd have to have some system in place that allowed everyone the opportunity to share out, such as having roles within the group. Yeah.
And then you need to be strategic, I would think, about where you put the kid, which cluster so-and-so is seated at.
Yes.
Not just let them pick their clusters for themselves.
And one of the cons is that there's less individual accountability. I think that you see a little bit more talking when you're in this group, especially during independent work, because they're so used to working collaboratively that they want to turn and talk to their neighbor about what he or she got for the answer instead of working as an independent unit.
One thing that I like about clusters is it makes the room seem less cluttered. It opens the room up, and it's easier for the teacher to move around the room, I think, sometimes. But again, this is going to be harder to manage sometimes. So if you're struggling with management, I probably wouldn't opt for the clusters. And this one is called the Runway. I don't think this one is very practical. What do you think, ladies?
No, not for elementary.
Yeah.
And not for a large class. You would need a really small class in order to do this.
Right.
The kids that are sitting in the back of the rows would have a more difficult time seeing the board around everyone. So.
And I think this would promote waving and making faces to the person seated straight across from me.
It does give you a lot of space to move around.
It does.
But
this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14 kids, and so it would need to be a small class.
Right.
They call this one the stadium. I kind of like this one, actually.
I like this one. I've used this in elementary school before. We needed a break from some of the small groups, or if I only had a couple of kids or friends that could work well together, it allowed me to vary how I placed them. I would have groups of 4 on one row and maybe 2 on the next, or 3. And it gives everyone a good visible shot at the front of the classroom as well.
And then one of my favorites, a combination when you have like single desks off to the side for those kids that prefer, working by themselves, or they need to work by themselves. Yeah.
Need their own space.
Yeah, but also have the clusters over for the kids that like to collaborate or whatever. I like having some options. Right. I think options are always good. And then I thought it would be fun if we just looked at some pictures of some classrooms that I found on the internet and talk about like what we like or don't like about the learning environment. And none of these are from Harnett County Schools classrooms. So here's a classroom that I found on the internet. And do we like this one? Yeah or nay?
The students are too close together.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like the people on the back row might have a hard time seeing the teacher because, you have someone in front of them.
I agree. If you had a shorter person sitting in the back, they wouldn't be able to see whoever was in front of them. And I would feel like it would be more difficult the way the rows are set up. Like the way they're stretched all the way to the back of the room. She would have to go up and down each row in order to manage any of the behavior.
She wouldn't be able to
weave
fit
in and out.
Yeah,
true.
It's like she's got all the kids like shoved to one side of the room. So I don't know why she's trying to open up the front of the room so much, but it's very congested.
Very.
And I think the rows are too close together. And I just, like I said earlier, I think it would be easy for a child to slip through the cracks in this classroom and not be noticed. But the room's clean.
Yes, which is good.
All right. This looks like an elementary flexible seating classroom. Do we like this one?
I do. I like the idea of flexible seating. I know it's become more popular lately. However, it's really important that if you're going to offer flexible seating within your classroom, that you are very strategic about how you teach the expectations and procedures and routines at each of these places. This isn't something I would just start out my school year with, unless everyone was designated at a certain spot for a week at a time, and then they rotated each section. I'd also make sure that I had an area set up for them that if they lost their privileges of using the flexible seating, that they had the opportunity to sit in a traditional desk.
Agree.
Until they could handle moving back to the flexible seating arrangement.
Yeah, I started hearing about this a couple of years ago at conferences and stuff, and it's expensive too, I think, to get it going. So if you're financially strapped, I wouldn't recommend it. And again, wouldn't you have to have like really good classroom management to pull this off?
Yes,
I would say really
very
good. Yes. And you can gradually work your way to it. I know when I started flexible seating last year, I just started with yoga balls at my guided reading table, and that was it.
Good way to
like a flexible seating reading area.
Yes, and that was all.
Not the whole classroom.
Not the whole classroom.
Yeah. And I have to comment on the umbrella luau center at the back corner of the room. Wouldn't kids not fight to go back there and lounge? Yeah, I like it. And then the bulletin
bright
board,
and colorful and inviting. Though.
Tell me what you said about the bulletin board earlier.
The bulletin board. This appears to be an elementary classroom, and the bulletin board is too busy for elementary children. That's a lot of things that will pull their focus away from what they should be focused on.
Yeah. Other than that, I think the room is really well organized and it's clean. Okay. Do we like this one?
Yes, I like the seating arrangement a lot.
Yes.
It's a variation of the horseshoe that we looked at earlier. It would work great for a larger class size. I also like that they have, because they are sitting so close and sharing the table, that they have the opportunity to collaborate that way. The room seems to be very well organized also, and it's colorful and inviting.
You have lots of options about where, you have lots of places to move kids.
Yes.
Like to separate talkers. You've got all these corners that you can play with and stuff. And so I like this, and I think this could work even for a difficult class.
Right. I like how she has the break in the back of the back row right there, where she can slide through to move around more.
To monitor students.
Yeah, you have to think, a lot of times we do a seating arrangement and we forget to take into account that we're going to be moving around
Right.
the room, and then we get in it and we can't move and stuff, or see their computer screens, which being 1-to-1 counting, we need to keep that in mind. But I like this room a lot. I like the curtains, the look, the feel. It's very inviting, as you said earlier, Courtney. This one,
This appears to be potentially a middle school classroom.
I would say maybe or high school.
No, okay.
Yeah.
It's difficult to tell what the focal point of the classroom is, the way the desks are facing. So if the focal point is on this side of what we're looking at, then I like that they're set up towards that. I like too that the desk rather, face away from where the door is. It seems that it would offer less distractions to students as people are coming in or walking by the door.
Mm-hmm.
It would just be really imperative to make sure that wherever you were going to be primarily teaching, was the way the desks were faced.
Mm-hmm.
I love the space.
Yeah,
Like
there is lots of space between the desk, and I think it would be easy for the teacher to move around the room. But I would wonder or worry about the students facing each other.
True.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Because they can start playing and illustrating each other.
Mm-hmm. Again, I think what you're saying about the focal point, where do you want the focal point to be?
Right.
Yeah. This is a flexible seating, or it's supposed to be flexible seating for high school. I think this is a really cool looking room. Pros and cons?
A pro of the room is that if it is intended for high school, you don't see the flexible seating as often, or this type of arrangement. Typically, I think they're mostly in.
Yeah, it would be novel.
Right.
Yeah.
In rows. I like how she seems to have some type of clip on the chairs to keep them held together. So they wouldn't move around, and they maybe, I can't tell, but they look like they may be bound in the center down there. So it would keep them positioned where they would need to be, which would be a big thing for me. It is a little bit tight.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I like the clusters, because I'm always, I get excited about students when they collaborate and with one another. The walls, I think they're looking too much.
A lot going on.
For Harney County schools.
I love the comic books up on the wall. That would, to me, that's just great for your reluctant readers. Comic book movies are real big these days.
Yes,
it's a way to tap into student interest and stuff. And I love the reading sofa over in the corner. But yeah, the pennants and stuff, is a lot going on. It's very busy.
I'll say that too, that room
cool.
appears to mimic what a teenage bedroom would potentially look like.
Yeah,
true.
Exactly.
To make them feel more comfortable and at home.
Yeah.
So I do like that idea.
I think that's a great observation. Yeah, and I wonder about the colored boxes on the clusters, if that has any significance.
Could be things they keep their supplies in, the group supplies, like pencils, highlighters.
Which would cut down on movement.
Right.
Yeah. And then that's the last one that we have today. So any last thoughts about classroom arrangement?
I would just say that when arranging students, you have to be very strategic.
Yeah.
And how you started out the beginning of the school year is definitely not going to be how you end the school year.
Right.
You want it to be a fluid thing. You may not want to change your desk every single day, but I would suggest switching it up every once in a while so that children have an opportunity to be in a different place. And if you do use the clusters, then most definitely switch the groups around so that you can learn who works well together and offer people an opportunity to have leadership.
I used to change the seating arrangement just for no reason at all, just to keep them on their toes, because they get complacent and stuck in a rut, and the brain responds to novelty and that kind of thing. So and keep the room clean. Very important.
That is very important. A lot of children are overwhelmed by clutter. And developmentally, it's part of our job to help kind of teach them some of those structures and organization techniques. And so we need to make sure that we're being that exemplary role model for that.
And if you want some help with, if you want to rearrange your room, what you have is not working, and you don't know what to do, reach out to us, me, Alisha, Courtney. We'll send the squad out to your school. We'll come out there and we'll come up with something that'll work for you. All right. Okay. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Thanks.
Signing out at BTN.